How much does personal security cost when you have worldwide fame, multi-million-dollar contracts, and a life lived in the crosshairs of cameras? In the world of big money, sometimes 1 second of chaos is enough. The price of a mistake becomes not just high, but obscenely expensive. That is why behind the backs of celebrities stand people who are rarely shown in close-up, bodyguards. They are not there for show. They are a blend of strength, discipline, and cold strategy. Today, we look at the 20 most famous, largest, and strongest bodyguards and security teams who protect artists, athletes, and billionaires. If this is your first time on the channel, subscribe, turn on notifications, and like the video. Welcome to the channel for the wealthiest luxury life. Number 20. The Rock behind Drake. When people think of Drake, they see a superstar, a hitmaker, a man who can turn a stadium into his personal living room. But almost always next to him is his head of security, a man over 2 meters tall with the look of someone who can shut down someone else's enthusiasm with a single glance. His job is not to throw hands. His job is to prevent a fight from even starting. A figure like that works like a no-entry sign. Most problems end before the first step. He has stayed by Drake's side for years on tours, at private events, and in arenas where the crowd roars so loudly the air seems to vibrate. You may have seen him at major sporting events, high-profile games, and playoff matches where cameras catch every move. A bodyguard at this level is not just muscle. In the world of celebrities, a bodyguard often becomes a trusted person, someone who knows where to go, when not to go, and where trouble can be sensed before it even happens. Number 19. Floyd Mayweather's Great Wall. If security were architecture, Mayweather would not have security. He would have a fortress. His team even earned a nickname like the Great Wall because these men look as if they could block the entrance to an airport by themselves. Several large men work together, each with experience and each with a different role. One acts like radar, another like a shield, and another as crowd control. In their world, everything is simple. Floyd attracts too much attention, too much money moves around him, and too many people want to get close at any cost. There have been moments when his security became the main character in the frame: press conferences, high-profile events, and overheated crowds. In those moments, a bodyguard is not a hero. He is the brake that keeps the situation from accelerating into a crash. Number 18. Cristiano Ronaldo and the Special Forces twins. Ronaldo is not just a footballer. He is an empire where every exit from a car looks like a small premiere. His security matches that scale. Two twin brothers, former elite unit operatives with a military background, protect him with a level of discipline that cannot be bought. It can only be lived. Their strength is not in looking frightening. On the contrary, they know how to blend into a crowd, a suit, a calm face, no unnecessary movement. But inside, they remain in constant readiness. Men like that do not argue or pose. They simply close the space around their client so smoothly that no one even understands how it happened. There have been high-profile episodes discussed by the media, including a story involving an expensive car and an accident during a vacation. But such details do not change the essence. If you protect a man whose image is worth hundreds of millions, you are protecting not only his body, you are protecting an asset that feeds a huge system: contracts, brands, projects, real estate, and family. Number 17. Kendrick Lamar's Giant. There are bodyguards who look like ordinary men in suits, and then there are those next to whom even a tall person begins to look compact. Kendrick Lamar's bodyguard belongs to the second category, a 2-meter giant who instantly draws attention in any shot. At one point, tour photos went viral. The relatively small Kendrick stood next to this monolith, creating a visual metaphor for security. The internet, of course, did what it always does: memes, comparisons, and jokes. But for the artist, this is not a joke. It is insurance against chaos. He worked security for artists when their popularity was rising, and with it, the temperature of the crowd. The most interesting thing is that many bodyguards later move into media or film because their appearance is already a ready-made image, a person you trust from the first second. Number 16. The Iron Discipline of Justin Bieber's Security. For Justin Bieber, security is not one biggest guy. It is a coordinated system that works like a special operations team, fast, quiet, and according to plan. Their names are rarely heard because a good bodyguard becomes famous only when something goes wrong. Here, the goal is the opposite: to make sure no one understands exactly how the artist was pulled out of the crowd. They were there during the early tours and during the most nerve-wracking periods, when too much unwanted attention gathered around the star. In those moments, security is not about pushing a fan away. It is about maintaining a safe corridor. Paparazzi, flashes, screams, and attempts to break through can all turn into a crush within seconds. Sometimes footage spreads worldwide, for example when bodyguards literally carry the artist through a difficult section of a route where walking is impossible. It may look funny, but the meaning is simple. A celebrity's life is a route made of risk points, and security either bypasses those points or neutralizes them. Number 15. Conor McGregor and the security that holds back chaos. Conor McGregor can turn any appearance into a show, and where there is a show, there is risk. The crowd overheats, fans push closer, and emotions boil over. That is why his security acts firmly but without fuss. Two key figures work like two modes. One serves as a shield in the crowd. The other acts as the brain of the route, planning movements, timing, and the exact places where the crowd might break loose. This is especially visible when tension is at its peak: press conferences, tournaments, and major public appearances. One wrong step and a chain reaction begins. Security in such situations does not simply intervene, it prevents things from starting. Number 14. Mark Zuckerberg and security at the level of a technological fortress. When you run a company on the scale of Meta, you are not just rich, you are a symbol, and symbols often become targets. That is why Zuckerberg's security is not a guard at the door. It is a system in which people, technology, and protocols work together. The names of team members are usually not disclosed, and that is understandable. Privacy is part of the strategy. But something else is known. Security at this level costs as much as a strong business. Money goes to personnel, logistics, equipment, home protection, routes, and event security. This is not overkill. It is the new normal for people living under constant scrutiny. What makes such protection different is technology: access control, encrypted communication, situational analysis, smart cameras, constant perimeter monitoring, and all of it not for effect but to see a threat before it becomes a threat. Number 13. Mr. Europe in Adele's service. Sometimes a bodyguard becomes almost as recognizable as the artist, simply because he looks like a character from a film. Adele had just such a case. Almost 2 meters tall, athletic, striking in appearance, and absolutely calm, like a man who has seen enough to never panic. Behind the impressive image is a real biography, years of police service and experience that teaches a person not just to be strong, but to be precise. In show business, this is doubly important. A fan may not be dangerous, but a crowd becomes dangerous by itself. One scream, one lunge, one crush, and everything changes. When Adele tours, it is not only fans surrounding her. It is a giant machine of tickets, contracts, venue security, logistics, and timing. The bodyguard is the fulcrum in that system. His task is to make sure the singer can go out to people, sing, smile, and return to the quiet zone without turning every step into a gamble. Number 12. Beyonce and security on the scale of a military operation. If you think a star's security is just a couple of men with earpieces, then for Beyonce that sounds like a joke. Her security is an entire structure, sometimes feeling more like a headquarters than a group of bodyguards. On tours and at major performances, everything works on one principle. Everyone knows their sector, and everyone knows what to do if the situation changes within seconds. Sometimes viewers see brief flashes of this system. A bodyguard goes viral because of a reaction, a smile, or a look, and the internet instantly turns him into a meme. In reality, these people live in a mode of no emotions, no unnecessary movements, and total control. The team's history has included tense episodes, aggressive fans, dense crowds, and moments on the edge. In those moments, strength is not what decides everything. The right corridor, the right speed, and the right distance matter more. Beyonce is not just an artist. She is a multi-million-dollar brand. Security protects not only the person, but the whole perimeter where money circulates: family, team, business, and reputation. Number 11. Salman Khan and the bodyguard as a family member. In Bollywood, security is sometimes even more important than in Hollywood, simply because of the scale of crowds and the nature of threats. Salman Khan is one of those stars who has long lived in a reality where security is not optional, but a daily necessity. His bodyguard is a legendary figure who has been by his side for decades. This is no longer just an employee. It is a person who goes through everything with the artist: film shoots, premieres, crowds at entrances, trips, and events where thousands of people are ready to break through just to get 1 second closer. At some point, security becomes its own business, a separate company, separate contracts, and protection for other stars. That is logical. The name of a bodyguard who has kept order around a superstar for decades also becomes capital. Number 10. 6ix9ine and security in the style of living with heightened risk. There are celebrities whose security is standard protocol, and then there are those whose lives are constant turbulence. 6ix9ine belongs to the second category. That is why next to him there is often not one bodyguard, but a team working as if any day could be the day everything goes wrong. Here the style is different, less publicity, more toughness, and more visible control. Some stories around his security have included scandals and situations where the methods seemed aggressive. That is precisely a sign of a world in which a person lives not as a pop star, but as a target. This is not about glamour, it is about the price. When a reputation itself attracts conflict, security becomes the most expensive tool for survival. Not decoration, but necessity. Number 9. Johnny Depp and the invisible fortress around a star. Johnny Depp's security does not work for show. On the contrary, the less you see it, the better it performs, especially during periods when a storm surrounds the artist. Court cases, the press, crowds outside buildings, and cameras ready to catch any emotion all create pressure. In such moments, bodyguards become not only protection from fans, they become protection from chaos. The main skill here is control of space. Where to stop, how to exit, where to turn, and where to place a living wall so the crowd does not close in. The most valuable thing is calmness. When dozens of people are screaming and pushing around, the calm of one professional can keep the situation from exploding. Sometimes, such teams even participate in court proceedings as witnesses or escorts, because security in high-profile stories becomes part of the official reality, not just a behind-the-scenes matter. Number 8. Post Malone and security that does not like the limelight. Post Malone's security team almost always stays in the shadows. Their names do not circulate in the news, and that is intentional. It is a low-profile format. Do not attract attention, do not turn protection into a show, but be ready for any scenario, from rapid evacuation to crowd control at a festival. Their work is not only concerts, it is flights, unexpected stops, logistics in different countries, and places where fans can appear suddenly and in large numbers. In such conditions, security is like insurance for a luxury car. You do not think about it every day until the moment comes when, without it, everything falls apart. Number 7. Kim Kardashian, elite security, and a multi-million-dollar lesson. After the high-profile Paris robbery in 2016, involving jewelry worth enormous sums, Kim essentially rebuilt her security from scratch. From that point on, she entered a reality of luxury fortress-level protection, around-the-clock security, technical systems, strict routes, access control, and precise work in public places. The special thing about this story is that security became not just physical protection, but a lifestyle. Every detail from a hotel stay to walking the red carpet is calculated in advance. At major events, security works so the star can walk beautifully, calmly, and confidently while the crowd does not turn into a threat. For people at this level, security is not about keeping a dress clean. It is about whether you return home without a story that costs millions and destroys trust forever. Number 6. Sylvester Stallone and security at the Rambo in the parking lot level. Sylvester Stallone is a legend, and even at 79, he remains instantly recognizable. That means there is almost always a crowd around him, fans, cameras, and random passers-by who suddenly decide they have a right to a selfie. That is when security steps in. Not for show, but as a strict filter separating polite people from those who can turn a situation into a crush within seconds. Little is usually known about such bodyguards, and that is how it should be. Most often they are former military personnel or tactical specialists who know the main rule: do not allow improvisation. Routes, perimeter, corridors, emergency exits. Everything is planned so the actor can live and work instead of fighting through chaos every time he steps out of a car. They say such teams earn very serious money, and the logic is simple. You are paying not for muscles, but for the fact that at the strangest moment when the crowd starts pushing, someone will already be one step ahead. Number 5. Rihanna and security fit for a billion-dollar brand. Rihanna is not just an artist. She is an empire where music is only one part. When you have a brand like Fenty and capital counted in very large categories, security becomes as necessary as lawyers and accountants. After stories involving stalkers and obsessive fans, many stars increase their protection. For Rihanna, it feels like a full system upgrade: cameras, technology, strict access, and a constant team. Stories like this often mention hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. That is not luxury. It is the price of being able to go out in public calmly without constantly wondering who might decide to cross the line today. The most interesting thing is that sometimes security creates the footage that goes viral. A bodyguard jokingly picking someone up, shielding the artist from flashes, or leading her away so smoothly that the crowd does not even understand how the star disappeared. That is the whole point. Ideally, you should not see security working. Number 4. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who was once a bodyguard himself. Here is an unexpected twist. Before becoming one of Hollywood's highest paid people, Dwayne Johnson worked as a bodyguard himself. That explains a lot. When a man nearly 2 meters tall, weighing around 120 kilograms and carrying wrestling experience stands next to you, he does not need to argue. He creates silence just by being there. In the late 90s, Johnson protected stars and worked in places where nightclubs could turn into chaos within seconds. Today, he is the face of films, advertisements, projects, and brands. His own security is no longer just a couple of men, but a team capable of handling thousands of people at premieres and major shows. For The Rock, security is not a formality. It is part of his lifestyle, and that is logical. He is too noticeable, too popular, and too constantly in the frame. Security is a way to maintain control over a life that people constantly try to touch with their hands. Number 3. Jeff Bezos and a technological fortress worth billions. When you are the founder of Amazon and a person whose wealth sounds like fantasy, your security is not simply a bodyguard at the door. It is a multi-layered system combining technology, people, and protocols. Such teams usually include dozens of specialists. Some work in the field, some analytically, and some on technical protection. Public stories have revealed details such as expensive office security upgrades and constant threat monitoring. The point is simple. People at this level face different risks. It is not just fans. It is reputational attacks, blackmail, cyber threats, and attempts to violate privacy. That is why a billionaire's security is almost a hybrid of a special service and an information technology department, where muscles are less important than information. Number 2. Chris Brown and the team that holds the perimeter. Chris Brown's security works as a constant barrier, not because it is fashionable, but because there is always a lot of noise around his name. Tours, clubs, stages, public appearances, at every step there is a risk that someone wants to create their own story. Such teams rarely publicize names and faces. Their strength lies in discipline and coordination. It is not one hero, but several people covering angles, controlling movement, dividing the crowd into sectors, and preventing it from closing in. Sometimes security here is like insurance for $1 million concert. If chaos happens, not only the person suffers, but also the show, the venue, and the business. Their task is to keep everything within limits. Number 1. Taylor Swift and security that costs as much as a business. At this level, security turns into a separate industry. In 2017, a strange rumor spread across the web that Taylor Swift had supposedly been smuggled out of New York, hidden in a large trunk or suitcase. The internet exploded with memes as always. Impossible, what kind of spy movie is this? Behind that funny image is a serious reality. Taylor's security is one of the most expensive in the industry. When you have tours, stadiums, and fan bases all over the world, you are protecting not only yourself, but a giant machine. Staff, schedules, routes, contracts, and the money moving around every concert. Such systems often use everything from armored cars and dummy routes to a tight flank of several bodyguards next to the artist, plus technology, early threat detection, access control, and space monitoring. Here is the main question for the viewer. If you had that kind of money and fame, would you save money on security? In this world, security is not an expense. It is an investment in making sure tomorrow arrives calmly. This is what the reverse side of luxury looks like. Yachts, villas, stadiums, millions in accounts, and next to them, people who stand between the dream and danger. Who would you choose as your bodyguard? The biggest, the most unnoticeable, or the most technological? Write in the comments. If you like the video, like, subscribe, and choose the next video on the screen. See you!